Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're looking at Fables #1. This is a DC comic. It's by the Vertigo imprint, and this is the credits. It's Bill Willingham, writer, Lan Medina is the artist, and Steve Lila, and I can never say his name, is the inker. This was a big deal when this came out. If you're not into comic books, and I don't know why you'd be watching this channel if you're not into comic books, this is the comic for you. This is the comic I had the most success evangelizing the hobby with other people. My wife read them all and loved them. So many people that I know, well, this is one of those comics I get a little like snooty about. People like, I don't read comics, but I read Fables, and it was the best. And I'm always like, oh, what are the odds that the only comic book you ever read was the best? But this is a fabulous comic, and I'm a big fan of Bill Willingham. So let's open it up and I'll talk about it. I like this cover. I just got this because it was Bill Willingham's name, and I'm a big Bill Willingham fan. I'll close it for a second. Bill Willingham wrote and drew the Elementals. And I've been a fan of Bill Willingham since he did a Villains and Vigilantes module. Villains and Vigilantes is a superhero role-playing game. And he did the Island of Dr. Apocalypse and Death Deal with the Destroyers. And ever since then, I've been a fan of his. He also did a lot of those TSR 80 Dungeons & Dragons ads that we saw in the early Marvel comics in like the early 80s. Not early Marvel comics, early 80s is what I meant to say. So I've been a fan of Bill Willingham for a long time. He stopped... He doesn't draw comics too often anymore these days, but he still writes, and he's a phenomenal writer. I just love the way he does things. He's got a very logical mind. Okay, so let's look at this comic now that you got some background. Okay, we got an ad over here. I don't know what that is, or a video game, and I'm just going to give you an overview of the series itself while also looking at this particular comic. Let's look at the indicia. I always like to do that. So it's Fables 1, July 2002. So what we have here is, this is New York City, and there's Fabletown and Bulfinch Street. Bulfinch Street is in the heart of Fabletown, and Fabletown is a part of Manhattan where the Fables live. And who are the Fables? Well, that's little Jack Horner. That's a little boy Blue, and he's running into the security office of Big B Wolf. Now, who do you think Big B Wolf would be in the comic books? Yes, that's the big bad wolf. And why does he look like a human? Well, what kind of wolves look like humans? He's a werewolf, and I love that. That's classic Bill Willingham taking logical steps with characters. So Jack Horner goes to Big B Wolf. He found a murder. And what's going on outside? Well, this is Beauty and the Beast. And they're having marital problems, and they're talking to Snow White, who's like kind of in charge, or at least the deputy mayor, or what is she? Business office. So she's like runs the business, the day-to-day operations, while old King Cole is the actual mayor. He's the figurehead. She actually runs everything. So that's Snow White. And they're having a fight. And one of the rules, and they set this up, Bill Willingham sets this up so you could learn the rules of Fabletown. You have to look like humans. The number one rule of Fabletown is you have to look human, and you can't let the mundanes are like muggles, like you and I. We can't let the mundanes know about the magical world because they're hiding. And I'll talk about that later. So the problem is, whenever they start fighting, Beast looks more and more bestial. So if he's going to have to go upstate to the farm. The farm is where all the non-human looking Fables live. And no, they don't want to go there. They like living in Manhattan. And she's like, you better get your stuff sorted. You better get everything sorted. And he's like, your marital problems are your marital problems. He has more video games. And you gotta fix it. So here she is. All this dialogue is her explaining the rules, and because I'm sympathetic to your troubles, but I can't help any of you. Many of the Fables, or even most of us, lost our lands, the titles, and fortunes when we were forced out of our homelands by the adversary. We have to make do with the best we can. So that's this page is setting up. This is a lot of exposition because it's an info dump. But Bill Willingham's a genius, so he could do info dumps that work within the scope of the story. So what happens? The adversary attacked. Who is the adversary? I'm not telling you, because that's like half the fun is figuring out who the adversary. And I remember talking to Bill Willingham at a convention, and somebody asked him who the adversary is, and he just goes, "You haven't figured it out? It's so freaking obvious." And I put my hand down because it wasn't obvious to me, to the point when they revealed him. I was like, "Oh, okay." So the adversary attacked the Fables and conquered Fable lands, and they fled. They fled to the United States, the mundane world. So they're hiding from the adversary, and they're also hiding from the humans. And Bigby gives a big speech on why they have to hide from the humans later on. And Bigby and Snow White are the breakout characters. They're the characters that everybody loves in this comic. So let's just keep that in mind. So they are the main characters. Everybody else is NPCs. This is The Filth. This was a bizarre comic by Grant Morrison, Chris Weston, Gary Erikson, and Carlos Segura. This I might show this showcase someday, but this was a bizarre comic, and I won't talk about it in the Fables. When I showcase The Filth, you'll understand why. So this is all the stuff that made it out of the Fable world. I'll pull back. You got like flying monkeys and stuff like that, and flying ships. And this is all being hidden in Fabletown, because for two reasons. Can't let the adversary know where they are, and they can't let the humans know. And let's just say that it will be bad. It will lead to war. Bigby gives a great speech on why the humans can't know. So, oh, this is Little Boy Blue. Okay, this is Little Boy Blue. The custodian is a flycatcher. And after this series, right around issue 15 or so, I bought a copy of, well, I had a copy of Both Fish's Mythology, but I broke it out and reread it to learn all the history of the Fables. And it was like a lot of fun for me to see like who the actual Fables were, and then what Bill Willingham's take on them is. It's just so great, so great. You're gonna love Snow White and Bigby, I guarantee it. So what's going on? They're also warning Snow White that her ex is in town. Who's her ex? Why, it's Prince Charming. And he's hanging out in a mundane restaurant, and he's having dinner, and he's explaining to the waitress, "Oh, I don't have any money. Could you pay for me?" And the girl's like, "It's like, and then we'll go up to your apartment." And she's like, "Oh, okay." I'm tempted to give. Actually, I'm about to go off shift. I'm tempted to ask you to come up home with me right now. I mean, he is Prince Charming. Here's some Lollapalooza. Oh, Sergio Aragona's art. So they're setting up him. So he's going off into her apartment to do some loving and some doving, because he's Prince Charming, and that's what he does. So now Bigby Wolf and Snow White are what's going on, and there's been a murder. Okay. So her boyfriend was just here to report that he found her apartment trashed this morning. Oh, is that all? So they want to know who committed it, and that's Rose Red. Rose Red I didn't know who Rose Red was at the beginning of the series. I had to look her up, but apparently there's some fables about Snow White and her sister Rose Red. So she's like the lesser known sister who's more of a party gal and everything like that. And just look at this wonderful art. And here's Prince Charming and this girl, in the having some lovin' dovin' and some fun. And they're going out to investigate Prince Charming, because there was a murder. And the common denominator is she has been with Prince Charming. So he's the number one suspect. And here's Jack Horner checking out the apartment. No more happily ever after. Okay, so who killed Rose Red? And Rose Red, of course, has been with Snow White, Beauty, Cinderella. That's his story. That's Prince Charming's story. So they're gonna go look for Prince Charming because somebody killed Rose Red. So no more happily ever after. So what are you doing? Why are you looking for? What's going on? So what does he do? He's a wolf. She's holding his cigarette to clear his senses, and he's smelling everything, and checking everything, looking at everything, and oh, I didn't skip a page. I didn't skip a page. I thought I did. I want to get back to this. Okay, so he's looking through everything. Things were broken off. The refrigerator's broken off. He goes, Jack, I'm taking you in. What for? Does it matter? Let's call it resisting arrest. But I didn't. You power mad, whatever. And he goes, you see? So now Big B just takes out Jack Horner, arrests him, and takes him in. So next, the unusual suspects. So even though Jack Horner reported the crime, he's the number one suspect, and him and Jack, Prince Charming. So let's. I just want to look at this, and then I'll talk about other stuff. Not my most elegant video. So here's Fables, The Human Target, Names of Magic, 100 Bullets, American Century, Codename Knockout, Crusaders, Hellblazer, Hunter, Ages of Magic, Lucifer. Yes, this is Lucifer, the TV show. It was a DC comic. Midnight Mass. This is the only one I didn't get. Sci-Fi Spy, didn't get that in Transmetropolitan. The Filth, and 100%. So the 100%. So out of this whole list, these are the only 3 comics I didn't get. Interesting. All right, so let's get back to this. I just loved it. And here's Welcome to Fabletown. It's an article about the inspirations and what it's all about by Bill Willingham. So I showcased Elementals a while ago on my channel. It's one of my early ones. I love the Elementals. To me, it was a seminal comic. It was an influential comic. It was the beginning of like dark, grim and gritty. It was like, to me, the Elementals is as important as the Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns, but nobody ever heard of it, and they're kind of hard to find. And Bill Willingham is a little sour when you bring up that topic because he got swindled out of the rights. So it's like a sore wound to him. But I still love the comic. Great comic. And what it is, it's a superhero world with like logical consequences and a real world attitude about superpowers. This is the same thing. This is a real world attitude about Fables. What would happen if these beings came into the real world? What would happen if we have a werewolf, Snow White, and they're like immortal, powerful beings because belief in their fable generates power for them. So Snow White is one of the most powerful beings on the planet because everybody knows her fable. Rose Red is lesser powerful, which is why, she could be harmed. And then there's other fables who actually die because nobody knows their fable, stuff like that. And then, whatever. So Big B Wolf is super powerful. Big Bad Wolf. Everybody knows the Big Bad Wolf, and he's known for being powerful in the Fables. So there's a whole bunch going on. Who killed Red Rose? That's the opening story. Why are the Fables there? Who is the adversary? What's going on? Why? What's going on the farm? And that's obviously Bill Willingham's a genius. So the farm is definitely references to George Orwell. Some of the animals are more equal than others. It is, and this comic explores politics, religion, philosophy, so much stuff, and it's Vertigo, so it's unhampered by like Comics Code Authority and stuff like that. So it could have like nudity, cursing. We saw the cursing when I did a close-up on one of the panels. It could have like violence, stuff like that. But it's Bill Willingham, so it's not like gratuitous, and it's not just over the top. It's for increased drama, and it's for storytelling purposes. This should be a Netflix series. Now, that's also a sore point, because I think Bill Willingham went to one of the networks with this, and they rejected him, and then they came out with that show Grimm's Fairy Tales or whatever. And he hasn't said it outright, but he pretty much believes that they ripped him off. Or at least I think he believes they ripped him off. So I've never watched that Grimm TV show because solidarity for my beloved creator, Bill Willingham. If you see Bill Willingham's name on any comic book, just buy it. Whether he's doing the art, whether he's doing the writing, or if we're very lucky, he does both, just get it. I showcased Shadow Pack. That was he did Shadow Pack while doing Fables. He had kind of like a return to comic books. I guess he got nostalgic for superheroes, and that was wonderful. He also did a 5-issue series called Proposition Player. Just so good. But anything Bill Willingham, just get. I picked up one of his novels. I haven't read it yet, but anyway, I digress. So, long story short, in a nutshell, Fables. They've come to Earth. They got to keep quiet about it. That's their number one rule. If you don't look human, you go upstate to the farm, and they got to be quiet because they don't want the adversary to get them. Who's the adversary? Read the book and find out. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about Fables. Just one of my highest recommendations. These are always in collected prints. The comics are expensive. Like this comic, I don't know, goes for over $100 or something like that. So, but get the collected editions. You can't go wrong. They're always in print. They're easy to find. They're numbered. They're making it easy for you to go. I please, if you ignore anything I said, don't ignore this. Take this. I'm not saying it eloquently, but I think I know what you know what I mean. All right, I'm going to stop here because I'm stumbling. All right, thank you for taking time out of your busy day, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.